Welcome to Parenting Matters. We have two guests today that I am so excited to welcome to the panel today. Our first guest is Mr. James. He's a native Magnolian. He is a dedicated and compassionate counselor, coach, education consultant. He is also a winning keynote speaker. He is driven to inspire students to achieve personal and academic success. He received his undergraduate degree from the NC State University. He also has a Master's of Science in Education from Johns Hopkins University. His passion for education and student success influenced him to pioneer the You Too Deserve a Chance Foundation. And I hope he'll tell us more about that. A foundation that promotes education excellence while providing opportunities to the next generation of students. Mr. James has a strong interest in supporting initiatives that create more learning environments for inner city youth while advocating and disrupting weaker social bonds between people. Welcome, Mr. James.
Thank you.
Our next guest is Mrs. Robin Smith. Mrs. Smith is a business educator who has over 15 years of professional experience in accounting and human services. She holds a bachelor's degree in business management and organizational development from the University of Mount Olive, right here in North Carolina, as well as a teaching license in business and marketing education from NC State University. She is a wife and mother of two children, ages 18 and 3 years old. Robin enjoys studying the Bible and volunteering for various local nonprofit organizations, such as Lifestyle Profile, and I hope she'll share more with us, and Duplin County Ray of Hope. It is her mission to assist children and adults with discovering their passions and using their passions to drive their education and career choices. Welcome, Mrs. Smith, to the panel.
Thank you for having me.
All right. Mr. James, what are some things that our parents need to know about school success for this generation?
To answer your question directly, what do parents need to know about student success within this generation? Understanding that each child, each scholar have their own definition of success. Success can be, for me, success has been able to come to school, being able to comprehend what the teacher is teaching, but also being able to apply outside of the classroom. That to me is success. However, for our scholars, it's important to understand that with how the world is shifting and a lot of things that's constantly happening, how we're constantly evolving, understanding that success to your child may not look like success to you when you was in school. So it's important to meet your child where they are. It's important to be able to ask them questions, and sometimes you may feel like you're not asking the right questions, but understanding that you attempting is a sign of you trying to get to know what success looks like for your child. I think it's also important for parents to understand that you need to know where the society is moving yourself so you can understand your child, because a lot of times, even me as a millennial, I don't understand some of the things, some of the music that they engage in, some of the art, the passion, the joy that brings them joy. I don't directly understand it, and I'm close to their generation. But it is your responsibility to continue to get to know your child. And it's going to be tough. It's going to be hard because they're going to go through that growth spurt where they think they know it all. And sometimes it starts when they're like 6 or 7, but most of the time it starts when they enter their middle school years. And so it's just important to be patient, allow yourself grace. And like I said, we have our standard definition of what that looks like. But at the end of the day, you have to define what that looks like for your household.
Okay. All right. I really like the way you answer that. I think that parents will be able to understand the way you answer that to really meet their children's needs better. Mm-hmm. Thank you. What are some things that parents can do to better assist them in returning to school this year?
My philosophy of education and success in education is it takes a village. It takes a village for students to be successful. It takes a village for parents to support their students because they're dependent on the school to get them what they need, the student, the child need in order to be successful. But I think I think I call it the 5-step process where, step one is just, beginning to set that routine. So as we all know, school is starting back within the next 2 or 3 weeks, depending on the school district that you're in. Some households, parents don't really care, from my understanding, about when kids go to bed. Some kids say they go to bed 2, 3, 4 o'clock in the morning. Some people say they go to bed. Some kids say they go to bed at 9. It just depends. However, I ask the parents to be very mindful of when their child is going to bed, making sure they're getting a healthy, balanced meal. And I understand that what healthy looks like is very dependent upon where you live. I understand access. But if you have the power, and if you have the opportunity to provide a healthy meal before your child goes to bed, that will help them the next day. That will help them be able to focus in class, because that matters. But, begin to set those routines, because routines matter. Because if you wait till the day before school start back, 9 out of 10, they're going to stay up playing, looking at TikTok and playing the video games and stuff like that. And that's going to basically be a distraction. They're going to come to school and they're going to be disgruntled. They're not going to want to participate. And I'm saying this from previous experiences. That's not necessarily the case for all students, but that's the case that I have seen in previous years. So, begin to establish that routines weeks in advance before school starts. So students, they kind of know what is expected, what it's going to look like, and they can prepare for what's next. As we look at step 2, I think it's very important to be able to show up. And when I say show up, open house. That's the time to get to school. That's the time to inform the teacher. And for me, as an individual who has planned open house before, it warms my heart to see families coming out and supporting their child. And I don't necessarily say parents, because you have situations where brothers and sisters are raising their cousins and nieces and nephews. And so it's important to understand that we hear you, we see you, but we're not going to just say this is strictly for parents, this is for the entire family. And I understand with COVID, certain districts may have restrictions, but it's important for parents to actually come out and meet the teacher. I understand it's okay if you had that teacher in years prior. However, this is your time to be able to communicate the needs of your child. In previous years that I have been in education, I have seen teachers make space in their classroom for parents to fill out paperwork. That is important. And nothing gets me more than receiving paperwork and there's incorrect information, and when the school trying to reach out to the parent and they're not able to get in contact with them. So I would say in that step 2 process, look at just showing up for your child, or in open house orientation. And if you're not able to make it, I understand family work, multiple jobs. Find a way to connect with those teachers. Don't assume because it's an elective course or if it's like PE or something like that, that the child will be fine. No, show up for your child. Let the teachers know, let the school know, I am here to support my child. And if you're not able to get there, schedule a time with the teacher within the first week of school, and they would be more than happy to have a conversation with you. And I feel like once that is all taken care of, then look at step 3, which is setting your expectations as a parent, as a family member, setting your expectations, letting your child know, okay, this is what the teacher told me, this is what I am expecting of you, this is what it's going to look like in my household. And if you've never done that before, I'm sure there's parent groups, there's support groups all around. I encourage everyone, if you need those types of support, if you Google free support groups, there are support groups that are here to help you with helping your child be successful in school. But just setting those expectations so your child know what is expected of them, because when there are surprises, kids tend to kind of be rebellious a little bit, and they don't necessarily follow through with the expectation. So if they know from the jump what is expected of them, you are setting the tone for the child to be successful. Step 4, be visible. I think that's critical. There's a lot of things that go on in schools, some good, some are bad, but it's important for you to be visible in your child's school. Communities and schools is what makes success. And again, I say that again, community in schools is what makes success. Without community in schools, it's just like there's a gap, and it's hard for families to feel like they can trust the school. It's hard, and what would happen is families, I've seen in the past, will go through hoops and different hurdles just to get a one common question answered. However, if there was parents that were visible and the schools made it that way where parents can be involved, then it will be more easier for parents to have access to that opportunity to be visible. And the last and final step, I think it's important to advocate for your child. Advocate for your child. Even though you went to open house, you told the teacher, 9 out of 10, the teacher is busy with other kids, and it's their intentions to be working with your child as well. But it's critical that you advocate for your child. If something comes up where your child mental abilities or mental health is not where it needs to be, I'm not gonna say don't be ashamed of that, but communicate with your school counselors. Understand that there is a support team at that school that is willing to support you and guide you along the way. And if the school is not supporting you how you would like, then you have the next level, which is the district office. But 9 out of 10, if there's a relationship with that school, they will support you to the best of their ability. And not everybody in the school is out to get your child. It's just it may take some time for them to understand the situation, and understanding that throughout this advocating process, there's a way to go about handling that. Because believe it or not, parents set the tone for the district. In many of these school districts, a lot of these individuals that sit on boards are elected, and they're elected by their community. So parents have that autonomy; they have that right. So understanding that you may not know how to clearly articulate what you're trying to say, but reach out to someone at the school or within the community and ask for help, because we have to get out of the mindset of what happens in our household stays in our household. We have to get this generation of kids the right help, or the help that they need, so that they will be supported and know how to advocate and stand up for themselves and be able to take and manage adversity when faced with it.
Well, we thank you, Mr. James. You really gave us a real good insight on what to expect from our parents and
Thank
what
you.
we should do. We're going to take a break now. I'm Brenda Reddick, and welcome to Parenting Matters.
Need a tutor? Hello, I'm Nicole Murphy, and I'm hosting a tutoring session for grades K through 3rd on Tuesdays and Thursday, weekly after school. It will be a pleasure to assist your child one-on-one on subjects such as reading, math, writing skills, and more. My goal as a tutor is to build your child's confidence, self-esteem, work habits, and motivate our youth to succeed. If interested, don't hesitate to call or text Nicole Murphy at 910-379-3195. That's 910-379-3195. I am looking forward to hearing from you, bettering our future one child at a time.
Welcome back to Parenting Matters. Up next is Miss Robin Smith. Mrs. Smith, what are some areas that you would say that students need to focus on more in the class?
I think the primary thing that students should focus on in the classroom is taking responsibility for their own learning. Ways that students can take responsibility for their learning: from day one, they need to listen. Like Mr. James said, the family showing up to orientation, that student needs to come into orientation, meet their teachers, ask them any questions before school ever starts. Have an understanding of what the expectations of that student is. From day one, when that teacher starts to go over their expectations for those students and what their guidelines are, they need to ask any questions that they have. They need to be paying attention and listening. And going forward, they need to make sure that they know when test dates are going to be. Our tests going to be every Friday. Is there going to be homework? How do I submit my homework? Am I supposed to keep a journal? Am I supposed to show you my homework every day? Or, they need to know those things, and they need to know which classes those things are necessary for. So that's number one. Take responsibility for your learning through listening. Take responsibility for your learning through doing your work. Do your work, turn it in on time, ask questions. If there's something they don't understand, they need to be asking questions. They need to be making it clear what is being communicated to them. Because you don't want to wait until test day to say, I don't understand. Because most of the time that test is being given out and that's it. So you want to, as information is being passed along to the child wants to make sure that they understand it when it's being given. Because whenever that progress report comes halfway through that 9 weeks or halfway through that grading period, that's not the best time to communicate misunderstanding. So you don't want to fall behind because you have been getting lost the entire time. So that student needs to go ahead at the onset. Whenever they realize, hey, I don't understand this content, that's the time to say, hey, I don't understand this. And don't be embarrassed to do that, because each student is different. But most of the time, if you have a question, someone else had the same question. But oftentimes people feel like because everybody else is nodding and they look like they got it, then I'm the only one. So I'm not going to say anything. But then at the end of the day, when you receive your report card, when you receive your grade, that's your grade. That's not everybody else's grade. That's your grade. So you have to take responsibility for your grade. You have to take responsibility not just for your grade, but for what you learn. Because what you learn in any classroom is a foundation for the next grade level and maybe even for another class. So you don't want to sit there in silence, not having a clue about what is going on. Also, a student should make sure that, especially with what we're dealing with right now, with possibly having another lockdown, maybe we probably won't, but if we do, the student needs to know what is going to be expected of me if I end up having to do my schoolwork from home. Where do I go to locate my assignments? How do I submit it? You don't want to wait until you're at home, find out, okay, now we're 100% virtual. You don't want to wait till then to try to figure out how to log into your LMS, your learning management system. Mm-hmm. So you want to go ahead and know that the first day. You want to go ahead and have that information and know how to access your assignments and how to turn them in. Because once you go virtual, it's going to be a little bit tougher to try to figure it out, because you might not have that person standing over you to be able to say, okay, this is what you click and this and that. So while you're in that classroom, get an understanding. Also, especially as children get older, that they rely more heavily on that student to communicate what's going on in the classroom. Now, when a child is in elementary school, they might have class dojo or a folder that goes home every day, and they'll communicate any behavior, or they'll communicate homework assignments, or they might communicate when a test is going on or something like that. But as your child gets older, you have to kind of rely on that child. So that child needs to communicate what's going on in that classroom. If there's a project or something like that, how many times have we as parents found out the night before that there was a project? Then what you have to do? Scramble and run to the closest store to pick up poster boards, glue, and whatever else you need. But that child needs to be communicating, because we rely on our children to communicate what's going on in the classroom, and that's how we can help them to better be successful.
Well, we thank you. You covered the last question that I was going to ask you. This is Parenting Matters. I'm Brenda Reddick, and we'll see you on the next episode.
Hello, my name is Tamika Robinson, and I am the owner of 810 Studios. We invite you, the public, to come and utilize our studio for all your content creation needs. If you have a YouTube channel, Facebook Lives, or you just want to create memorable video for you and your family, come by, check us out. We'd love to have you. Again, 810 Studios located at 313A Vance Street, Clinton, North Carolina.